Namaste. It's a privilege for me and honor for me to be called at BW Business World Emerging Businesses Award, where I'm joined by fellow panelists. I think the topic that we're going to talk upon and the subject that we're going to take is very, very relevant in modern India. We're going to talk on cross-sector collaborations for the growth of MSMEs, one of the sector where I'm very closely associated in. And ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of awareness which is missing when it comes to MSMEs in India. Before I start and before I ask my fellow panelists to give their opening remarks, let me tell you one thing here. If you see your country which is breathing today, is because of the MSMEs which is putting up tremendous amount of their work. I'll take you a little backward in setting the context. We are not a manufacturing country. Please understand, we're not a manufacturing country. We're not like China, we're not like Japan, we're not like Taiwan, we're not like Germany. We are an assembling country. We assemble. What does Maruti do? What does Hyundai do? What does Ashok Leyland do? Gentlemen, they are joining the dotted lines. Who are the ones who are actually delivering at the grassroots levels? Are the MSME ancillaries. आज आप इतने बढ़िया प्लेटफॉर्म पे बैठ के इतना बढ़िया आपने प्रोग्राम देख रहे हैं and that you are engaging with the panels जो I think morning से हो रहा है, but have you seen that in each and every part here an MSME is involved? From the one who has arranged this to the hotel where you are to maybe the water that you are having, there has been a contribution by an MSME. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking of how cross-sector collaborations can help this MSMEs. Across the globe, we call them SMBs, small and medium businesses. And if you happen to travel to other countries, the bread and butter of that country is taken care by SMBs. 90% of the industry in abroad, say countries like Japan, are SMBs, in US is SMBs. और हमारे यहाँ जो MSMEs हैं, to be very honest, you have not seen the scale, and over the discussion that I will do with my learned panelists, we'll give you the highlight and the impact of what your Indian MSMEs are doing, and I'll give you live examples, and I'll request my fellow panelists also, when we are talking, when we are answering, let's give some examples. This will tell you the strength of the MSMEs of India. So, before I start, ladies and gentlemen, I'll request my fellow panelists to please introduce yourself, and also, while you're introducing, please also tell in your present capacity, how are you associated with the collaboration part? Because then that conversation in the next 30 minutes that we do becomes more scalable. So, over to you.
Hi, I'm Shobhit. I'm the founder CEO of BoxPay. We are a payments fintech company wherein we help young startups, MSMEs, SMBs across the globe collect better payments. I've been in payments 20 years. I was at Expedia prior to founding BoxPay, and we had a payments team of 500 people just helping Expedia collecting better payments. Now, not even a mid or a large size company can afford that kind of a payments team, right? And what we also realized was that often these people don't even have seats at the table in terms of negotiating better rates, better commercials is one thing, but even terms of payments. So we started BoxPay as a tech enabler but also helping small organizations in terms of creating Expedia, Amazon-like payment experiences for their customers, because it's very important. It's even more important for an MSME to not lose that customer because of payment issue, right? If it's an Amazon, there are hundreds of or thousands of visitors every second that are coming in and checking out. But for the MSME, well, that one single customer can make or break, right? So that's what we do. I think in terms of today's topic, it's a very relevant one. I think even before this panel, we heard panel 3, IDFC Bank, talking about beyond banking, right? Why is a bank trying to create a platform which is not at all related to banking, right? That's the biggest proof. I think even large organizations are realizing that it's a joint collaborative effort in terms of providing value to the end customers. And also it could be a big differentiating factor for everyone. And in the previous panel, we heard the role of AI being able to do the same task that we humans do in a much, much better way and much faster, right? So there's going to be a lot of clutter out there in the market. We are going to be exposed to more and more information, and genuine voices are going to get subdued in that clutter. So if you have the right partners, if you have the right collaborators, your chances of reaching to the right audience is much better.
Yeah, we'll talk, Shobhit, about more of the cross-border collaborations,
Yes.
right? Thank you so much. And let me tell you, you're sitting on the hot seat because personally speaking, with so many FTAs now happening, your payment gateway plays a very important role, because coming from a think tank of the policymakers, I can understand that what all questions now I have to ask you, which is out of syllabus now. So ladies and gentlemen, Shobhit is one of the very important persons sitting here. Over to you.
Thank you. So I'm Rajjat. I'm one of the co-founders at Plutos One. We're a technical service provider for a service called Bharat Connect from the NPCI, from NBBL actually, a wholly owned subsidiary of NPCI. Bharat Connect covers consumer to business bill payments. It covers, so all your bill payments that you would make via bank apps, Paytm, PhonePe, they run on this platform called Bharat Connect. That's the underlying digital public infrastructure. So that infrastructure is built by TSPs. We are one of the TSPs. So Bharat Connect covers bill payments. It covers now internet and banking interoperability between banks and payment aggregators, and it also covers business to business invoicing and all the other features that come built on top of invoicing, which would be invoice-based lending through the Treads platform, etc. So what we are really is GTM partners for the digital payments infrastructure really in India. So whether that be from NPCI, we are network participants with the ONDC as well. So we do some work there. But our job is essentially to connect. We primarily serve banks and payment aggregators, but what we're really doing is serving their customers, which happen to be their corporate accounts, and in this case, within this context, the MSMEs, to do their collections, to do their reconciliations, to do then their invoice-based credit acquisition. That's where we build the tech and the services. So that's what we do.
So I'll ask you the first question now here is, since you're dealing in that segment with MSMEs, how can MSMEs go beyond being a vendor to being a collaborator, innovator, innovations? Why are we seen only as an vendor? Now I want you to give me something where how can the strategic partnership come in? Now this is in terms of the cross-border collaborations that I'm looking at for an MSME.
So cross-sector,
Cross-sector,
right? Okay,
yes.
Lovely. So we're an MSME ourselves, right? As a startup, as a young startup, we're about 3.5 years old at this point. As a young startup, we classify ourselves as an MSME. We're registered in Udyam and all of that. And a lot of the clients that we serve, so while our primary customer is always the bank, the client that we're serving on their behalf is an MSME. And I think what's happening today is you're seeing a lot of specialization in, say, TSPs, which are essentially outsourced technology partners or service partners, being able to connect you to the DPI that's already been built in India, right? So what used to happen and what happens in a lot of places in the world is every organization is then left to fend for themselves and build their own stack or find partners to be able to fulfill their entire stack of services, right? India's chosen to go about this slightly differently, and it's now finding resonance across the world, and a lot of people are following in this model, where the government or semi-government organizations will help create that DPI, that infrastructure, and you can just plug in.
No, my question here is, why an MSME is not becoming an innovator himself?
Absolutely,
Right.
I'll come to that. So in India, for example, there are systemic challenges in being an innovator. And even though you might do innovation, R&D budgets in this country are, by the way, one of the lowest in the world as a percentage of our revenue, right? That innovation is hard. It's hard anyway. But in India, just because of its scale, because of its diversity, you could innovate, but then finding acceptance for that innovation, finding customers for that innovation, and then finding revenue for that innovation is very, very hard. It's an order of magnitude harder than in most places. So what they've done is they've inverted the model a little and said, let at least the base layer come from the government. So whether that's UIDAI, whether that's NPCI, right? We build the base rails. Now you go innovate on that so that everybody now has a level playing field. So the first place where we operate, which used to be called BBPS earlier, it's now called Bharat Connect Bill Pay, was essentially a protocol that allowed.
For the benefit of the audience, can you elaborate?
Yes,
Bharat
sorry.
Connect Bill?
Sorry,
That will
sorry.
be-
I'm terrible at this, so I apologize. Bharat Connect Bill Pay is essentially a way to connect customers to billers so that you can pay your bills. Now, when I say pay your bills, the first thing that comes to mind is obviously utilities like electricity, water, gas. Then people think of telephone lines and so on, and their mobile bills. But today, actually, most C2B payments that are regular or semi-regular are covered under bill pay.
Under single umbrella.
Single umbrella.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a very powerful point, a single window solution.
A single window solution.
Yes.
Today, you could pay your digital subscriptions through that, your education bills, your fees through that, your hospital bills through that, your recurring deposits through that, your mutual fund SIPs through that. They're all available on one platform. Today, you can actually book US dollars on the same platform. It's a consumer platform.
That's a news, yes.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So a lot of it is happening here, and this was actually created in response to large silos being built by players like large payment aggregators
Yes.
or wallet operators about 12 years ago,
Yes.
when the RBI said that this is going to prevent access for, say, the next innovator.
Now, this is the innovation I was asking, and you have just answered. India always is showcasing as ease of doing business market under a single window solution. You as an MSME have innovated and given result. Please carry on.
Right. So here I would say that the innovation was actually the RBI and the NPCIs. So now what has been built is rails by NPCI. We built stuff like GEM, right, which is again a public infrastructure that allows government sourcing, for example, to happen through a single window. That's part of that single window solution. ONDC has been an innovation on.
India owes a lot when you build GEM, sir.
Absolutely.
People don't even know. If anybody here wants an opportunity, GEM is here available. Nobody can say there's no work in India today.
Absolutely. So what they've done is they've created that base, which if I as an MSME or even a large business set out to build today, it would take forever. There's no return on that. Right? So मैं 15 साल वेट कर रहा हूँगा उसके किसी रिटर्न आने की, उसके ऊपर कुछ बिल्ड करने की. When it's been done at scale by the DPI providers in India, and now you can all start, a small startup like us, right? We're a very, very small team, we're 70 people today, can go compete with a 20,000 strong team, and some of the larger incumbents in the space are billion-dollar companies with that kind of workforce, and offer exactly the same services. Today we're the second largest player in that field by number of clients, right? Without that DPI, we could not have done this.
So my question was, now with first innovation, you are ready for the second innovation also. First, you got a government support. Are you ready to do it without the support now?
Yes and no, because when you talk about scale, the bigger scale projects will always come from the government support. There will be DPI for the next big thing. So when we talk about, for example, invoice-based lending, there are a lot of private players trying to do invoice-based lending, but there is now new digital rails that the NPCI, that the RBI have built, which will allow you to do that at scale. And this will be at standardized rates, it will be at standardized protocols. That kind of scale is only achievable, or is most likely achievable only using these rails. But what that lets you do is it lets you solve for individual use cases that may only affect, say, 10,000 merchants in India, which it wouldn't have been profitable for you to do on your own. But now, because that bulk of your work has been taken care of by the DPI, you can go focus on these very interesting niches.
But I want a direct answer. Are you going to do it without the government, the innovations? If I don't put a DPR from a government side, are you still going to do that innovation as an MSME?
Yes, absolutely I am.
So that's
Absolutely, absolutely. But that gives me the wind in my sails, right? That DPI is the wind in my sails today. It's a tailwind.
so you put in a caveat here.
There are always caveats. There are always caveats.
Your take, Shobhit, on the same. I'll just ask you to be short because then I'll go to the next question.
Sure, I think what Rajat was saying, well begun is half done, right? Like, so we need to have that first right step in achieving scale, which of course provides a level access, which is very important for small businesses, right? Like, I may not have the top seat, but we may be better in innovation, we may be better at delivering quality products at a much better speed, which is why, at BoxPay, what we see is existing payment aggregators partnering with us in terms of launching new solutions, in terms of bringing new technologies and new capabilities to the market for their clients.
No, my question was, will you continue as an MSME the innovations now?
The short answer is yes.
Yes.
And of course, with some terms and conditions apply, but the benefit of having a level playing field is that my return on that investment on the innovation that I'm making is far better and a far more enabling choice for me, rather than, at the end of the day, we are also for profit.
Okay, thank you. So now, Shobhit, to you, one because you were talking of innovation, so my one question to you is, innovation today sits at the intersection of sectors, right? Be it technology, finance, manufacturing. Now, I want a specific answer. How MSMEs plug into this ecosystem without losing control of the value? Think from an MSME perspective. How does an MSME fit in here without losing a value?
I think in today's world, having control on the customer experience and the answers that I'm providing may have some connotations or inspirations from the payments ecosystem that I come from. But having control of the customer, not just in the terms of experience, but also the data, which is also becoming with the new rules that have been notified and will come in. It's very important to have the full control of the customer from experience, from data, and that will be defining as an MSME in terms of maintaining and building trust with the end customer.
Give from your own company's perspective an example how technology you have brought in without causing any or enhancing the value from your own Shobhit BoxPay.
So we are pretty similar in terms of age, our startups, right? Like we are almost 3-year-old startup and small firm of about 20 engineering staff. What we do is leverage the technology tools, solutions which are existing to us and available to us to make lives of our people better, lives of our customers better, and always in search of solutions wherein we can focus on the core of what we are solving and not get deterred by something about, hey, how do we manage time, for example, in terms of HR? How do we, with the previous panel about feedback, feed forward, how do we manage some of those things without necessarily losing the focus on what we are building?
So for the audience, can you tell me any kind of collaborations that BoxPay has done, cross-border collaborations, which is adding value as an MSME for the audience to take a note? So
I come from the intersection of travel and payments. Recently, Stripe, which is one of the largest payment platforms and processes upwards of $1 trillion, and they are the go-to platform for SMBs for collecting payments globally. We've partnered with them and we are running a global community for travel merchants. Now these could be small boutique lodging chains, hotels. These could be small travel agents.
So what that collaboration has brought in?
That collaboration is opening and bringing opportunities for these MSMEs to discuss their problems table, which I was earlier mentioning. A lot of times MSMEs don't even have the seat at the table, right? So we are in a way creating that joint voice that that industry is struggling with, whether in terms of payments, whether in terms of regulations, and then channeling it through the voice of, let's say, a much larger organization like Stripe.
Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. I think a round of applause for them to have a $1 trillion company having a collaboration. End of the day, whenever both of them are saying startups, remember both of them are MSMEs. So whatever they say startups, end of the day, they are MSMEs. Your point on this, on some collaborations. With an example.
Yeah. So last year, at some point on the bill pay platform, loan repayments was added as a category. And what that did is it enabled now NBFCs, especially that give out retail loans, to do their collections digitally. Okay. So we've partnered with some of our bank partners. IDFC is here. In fact, IDFC is our leading a bank partner. We've partnered with them and some other banks to onboard a lot of NBFCs that are customers of theirs onto this platform and do their collections digitally. Now, what that's done is it's done a couple of things. One, it's obviously lowered the cost of collection for the NBFC itself. When you collect digitally, it just costs lower, your timeliness of collections goes up, all of that helps. There's value to the bank, obviously, in your relationship with the NBFC. What we've been able to also innovate on is actually give the NBFC its own consumer-based digital solution. Even if the NBFC systems weren't digital, if they were offline, if they didn't have a public-facing API, we now have solutions that let them not just collect through the 1,400 digital platforms that today are connected to the bill pay system. So Paytm, all the banks apps, right, big and small. But they can also create their own apps that they can go give out to their groups, their retail customers, and say, here's a really simple way for you to pay. There are solutions we built atop that where earlier what used to happen was collection was done as cash. So you'd have an agent go and collect them. But now, the problem with that agent thing is it still needs to collect in cash, go back to a depository place, put that money in, handle all that cash, there's risk involved, right? So now there are solutions where an agent can go and present just a dynamic QR code that says it's only for your bill payment.
Rajat, I want one example the way he said. So have you partnered with
Yes.
X number of NBFCs
Yes.
or X number of banks or all the PSUs?
So no, we've partnered with, at this date, we've partnered with two public sector, one private bank, one cooperative bank, one of the largest government organizations called the Common Service Centers, the CSC, right? And with three different payment aggregators who are all allowed to now onboard their customers onto this platform. So we have 8 such clients today. For 2 of them, we are actually doing their NBFC collections.
Round of applause for Rajat too.
Thank you.
And Rajat, if you need any help for PSUs, please come forward because we want PSUs to come in BoxPay.
We're a small startup. We always want help. Yeah, I will come to you.
Now, from a collaboration point of view, now you have done brilliant collaboration, both of you. What are the measures you're doing as an MSME? Please think you all say your cash flows have come up to a levels, your profitabilities have come up to a level. Shobhit, to start with you, and I want a very small and precise. What are the measures you're doing for de-risking it? And what will be your suggestion to other MSMEs? Collaboration तो आपने कर दिया, आपको बहुत अच्छा लगा, you have highlighted it, it is giving you value. Let's see the negative side of it.
I think one of the things that probably we have challenges and some of the other MSMEs would also have is that you've won a big client, you've put in a lot of effort in winning that client, you've gone live, revenue has started kicking in, or at least you're recognizing that revenue, but that cash flow from getting a payment from a large institution or a large bank is still going to take a lot of time. So something you have to be very watchful of. We are a VC-backed organization, so thankfully we don't have that much issues on cash flow, but if you are a small MSME, you need to be really watchful on how your cash flow is
Why
going.
I'm asking Shobhit this question is, India today does not do no longer a kind of a trade relationships. We have FTAs now coming up. Now with FTAs coming up, and you must have seen recently, we have just signed out with New Zealand government, right? Altogether as of now, we've got 13 FTAs. You'll play a very major role here, right? How are you de-risking? Because cross-border payments will come in, right? Now when cross-border payments will come in, there will be a lot of bottlenecks. You have already told about the lot of collaborations you have had, but with India expanding, sir, अभी तक तो हम अमेरिका सोचते थे, आसियान आ गया, सेपा आ गया, APAC आ गया, न्यूजीलैंड, ऑस्ट्रेलेशिया आ गया. Now, controlling risk, your view.
I think again it goes back to payments in terms of being able to, you have probably dispatched goods or provided services, and how do you collect that payment and in a certain way and in a de-risk way, right? Like, so we are a growing economy. We have a depreciating rupee as well.
From your company perspective.
So from my company perspective, we de-risk in the way of putting more customers on top of the funnel, just making sure that we have enough of those cycles going at various customers so that we can
Very honest answer. Very honest answer by a found. Your take on this.
So our operations currently are only domestic. We don't do anything that's cross-border. So we identified early on that there are going to be clients in different categories, and we basically made sure that we have clients in every one of those categories. So we serve what is called an operating unit. There are 5 types of entities that can be operating units on the Bill Connect platforms today. So we have clients across all of them. So like I mentioned, PSUs, private, cooperative, non-governmental, government organizations, and private PAs. Right? So we have clients across these 5 categories because they all behave slightly differently. Payment cycles are different, the kind of customers that they chase are different, the size of the transactions, the volume is different. So our hedge has basically been to operate in all 5, make sure that any one is insured against by the other 4 categories. And we've had a lot of surprising findings here. In fact, some of our fastest paying customers are actually in the PSU category. Right? We get the...
Very nice to hear that the fastest paying are the PSUs.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause? And people say there is a delayed payment.
No, I'm as surprised as you are, right? But the data bears that out. The scale of business is, so the biggest customers tend to come from the PSUs, but the maximum number of customers tends to come from another category. So it's all over. And by doing it across those 5 categories, it's now a healthy portfolio and we don't feel very much at risk.
So Rajat, you just said that you're only in India. But when UPI can go out of India,
absolutely,
nothing stops Bharat Pay from going across.
Absolutely.
And and I'll tell you some of the countries which will be very bullish for you, where you can try, is ASEAN. Because Philippines is looking for that.
So we currently don't work on UPI specifically. Okay. UPI is a payment mode. What we do is build the collections engine, collections infrastructure, and the bill discovery infrastructure. Okay. So we don't actually handle the payments part of it. It would still be a PA and a payment solution provider.
I would love to see you going out. Right.
We would love to see ourselves going out.
That's the presence that we are more interested upon.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, Rajat and Shobhit, one thing for the audience. If you have to give them one actionable collaboration, think that there are so many MSMEs sitting here in the audience, and one actionable collaboration advice that Rajat and Shobhit is going to give, what will that be? Shobhit.
I think for us what has worked is that we are a 99% tech organization. But we don't have distribution in terms of having more feet on the street or mouths talking about us. So we've been very thoughtful in the partners that we collaborate with, specifically looking at people who have been well entrenched in the ecosystems and have a good, well-oiled distribution mechanism, people on the street or sales engine working for them, but not the technology.
That is domestic.
That is domestic as well as international.
So you mean more of a distribution network, more of feet on street, so you're talking more of a horizontal growth.
Absolutely, right? Like, so someone brings the customers, we bring the solutions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rajat.
Okay, I'm going to overlap with Shobhit a lot in that, because the distribution for us also is our bank partners. Right? While we provide technology to the bank, we provide services to the bank, the actual distribution for that service, for that tech, comes from our bank partners. And if there is one piece of advice that I could give to my MSME peers here, it would be, go knock on your bank store. Right? The bank has a vested interest in being able to deliver more value to you, create more solutions for you. Most of them have now partnerships in place, even the smaller ones, with specialists like us, right? Like BoxPay, to be able to offer you more value. It's just that most people don't know that the bank can do this today. I'll give you an example. 5 years ago, every payment aggregator in this country was out trying to acquire clients for themselves, merchants for themselves. Today, that model is all of them offer their PA to the bank.
Yes.
The bank creates distribution for them, right? So some of the private banks that we work with actually have third-party PAs that they give to us also for our payment processing. And we use those. But what they're doing is creating solutions for everybody here. The PA gets distribution, their MSME partners get payment solutions, the bank gets float, essentially is what the bank's getting, the bank's able to deliver more value, everybody wins. So what is that clearing house, or what is that market creating entity that has the most leverage in the system? It is most likely your bank. And you should be parked at their door asking for more value.
So you mean to say more collaborations with your banks?
Yes.
That is one
Tax
question.
tax your RMs to the max.
So when I asked both my panelists to say what are the advice that you would give to the audience here who are MSMEs, so they said this. Now, if I have to say, what are the common mistakes that they do in collaboration? Then what is Rajat going to say?
We undervalue ourselves a lot. We don't realize the value that we're bringing, and that we don't price accordingly. We become so my co-founder has this lovely phrase that he says, "Bhai, you're getting into a relationship with somebody who's the Aishwarya Rai here," right? I apologize for the inherent sexism in that, but you're the one who's bringing value. If you don't recognize your own value, the other party has no incentive to. So if you sell yourself short, you're going to leave money on the table, and you're going to be a less aggressive partner in that partnership, and you're going to have smaller incentive to actually create value in that. So price yourself well, acknowledge the value that you bring to the relationship, and absolutely demand money for it.
I think a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Rajat, because he has told such a powerful point, and I'll give you a live example of that. How you should not underestimate yourself and how you should value yourself, what Rajat was just saying. One of the topmost brands in car, is manufactured in Germany, no names to be taken, in Germany. And Germany is considered as the hub of automobiles. Ladies and gentlemen, you can understand the spare parts, the quality of the spare parts that goes. I'm very happy to inform the audience that one of the leading car manufacturers of Germany takes spare parts, auto components from an MSME in Ghaziabad and Faridabad. That's value. If you're not happy with this one, let me give you another. The raw material or one of the spares of so-called BrahMos missile was also supplied by an MSME which is in Ghaziabad. And I'll give you a third example. While the world was doing Gaga, the Chandrayaan which landed on the opposite side of the moon, the spare parts was supplied by one MSME from Indore. That's what Rajat is talking about. Thank you, Rajat. It's such a privilege when you hear such a thing. You value yourself, because end of the day, I don't want a Bharat Pay only to be here. It should be in Philippines, it should be in Australia, it should be in Mexico, right? Because you are valuing yourself. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for talking about Apni Shakti, right?
I think I resonate very strongly with what Rajat said, and having done that mistake, we sometimes tend to be right, like, hey, I'm just a small MSME or startup, and this is a very big opportunity, and you tend to kind of disbelieve, and you tend to self-doubt, which you should not do. So it's a common mistake. It's something maybe at least I am acknowledging that we have done. And while for the project that I have in mind, it did give us the results, but not from that client at least.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, I want this answer more closely from your heart. Looking back at your own journey, Rajat, Shobhit, which unexpected collaboration changed the trajectory of your organization? And I want an honest answer. And I want an answer with a case study, an answer where you can give me a case study so that let the MSME audience know that this changed Rajat and Shobhit.
The second bank that we took live on our platform was our first PSU, right? And working with PSUs up until that point, we'd repeatedly knocked on their doors and nothing had come of it. And we basically decided, it was probably not even worth working with a lot of the PSUs in the country. But this particular bank, and getting off the ground with them was very slow. But once they got off the ground, the first biller that was onboarded through them was one of the largest electricity distribution companies in the country. And the day it went live, we basically sat and just watched our server stats saying, ye chalega, nahi chalega, fatega to nahi, there's enough traffic coming in. We survived that. And as a result, we were able to take that to every other bank in the country. And we are now having conversations with at least 40 banks, right? To say that this is the kind of traffic that we handle. Just on the back of that one biller going live from that one PSU bank. And that's been a huge reason to believe for other banks to come and say that these guys can handle.
And this was when?
This was end of January this year, start of February.
So, from a vintage point of view, how old is your organization?
We're 3.5 years old.
This incident happened, it's about a year back?
No, it happened on the 30th and 31st of January this year.
Which was a second year of your organization?
No, it was actually the first month of our transaction processing. We only put up our infrastructure in October, went live with a private bank on the 1st of Jan.
Immediately?
Immediately.
Okay.
We survived.
That.
And as a result, we've grown tremendously.
Can we have a round of applause for him?
Thank you.
सर एक MSME ने इतना बड़ा काम कर दिया उसके लिए इतने धीरे से ताली बजाएंगे Shobhit.
I think the biggest punt for us was we were sitting in one of the largest insurance broking platforms, and they came up with a problem. They were doing business with one of our competitors, and they say that our competitor is 10 years old in the industry. And they said, really, hey, no way we are going to give this business to you. But they at least were kind enough to share a problem statement that the other player was not solving. We went back home, huddled with the entire team and said, right, like, hey, can we solve this challenge for them? We took that one punt and we got an entry into that organization. We are doing, it's around reconciliation, so not a fancy sort of business. We are working deep in trenches with them now, and they see us as one of their own. We run 5 different recon processes for that large organization, and it has opened again, like for Rajjat, it opened a door with banks. Now every insurance broking platform, insurance companies, they want to work because we instantly processed about 20 million transactions, reconciliations with the
I didn't hear, how much did you say?
20 million transactions.
Ladies and gentlemen, what should you all do hearing 20 million? In fact, just before this panel discussion started, our friend sitting here said a very nice Sanskrit slok about the power of Arjuna in front of this. Now here is the Shakti of Hanumans that we are seeing here, right? So I think it's very correlated what you said, and I'm sitting here. So you were sitting with Arjuns, I'm sitting here with Hanumans.
There's sloka in the Bhagavad Gita which says, raise yourself by yourself, never degrade yourself.
I think a round of applause for him also. Beautiful, beautiful.
Mind can be your friend, your mind can be your enemy.
Yes. So I think this is a beautiful reflections that both Rajat and Shobhit has given. And Shobhit and Rajat, before we conclude, because I think hardly a minute and a half is left, one thing straight from the heart to the audience: today's world and business is not competition, it's collaboration, right? With your experience in the organization, ups and downs, 2 minutes closing remarks. Rajat.
So when we founded our business, we were a firm looking for a problem to solve. We've done a couple of pivots trying to figure out exactly where it is that we can operate at scale. And what actually solved it for us was the fact that we had an existing relationship with a lot of the banks, with NPCI, with Visa, MasterCard, and it's just been, I think, 2023, we may have talked to more than 100 banks just to figure out what their pain points were. And we didn't go at them with a solution. We said, tell us what your pain points are. We just want to treat it as input for what may become of this company, right? And it's in repeatedly going over those problems with those banks, with NPCI, with Visa, that we were able to come to a point where say, okay, maybe this is a way in to solve some of these problems. We couldn't have solved everything. We wanted to focus very much on some things that we could do well, but would have scale eventually, right? And we freely admit that we've ridden on the coattails of the digital public infrastructure that's been built in India. We've ridden on NPCI's coattails. That's how we found our niche, right? So it's been our partnerships with our banks. The fact that we've had these partnerships in some form or the other for about 10 years now. We used to do something else for them earlier in another organization. Plutus One now does something else for them. But those relationships have persevered. And the only reason they gave us an audience at the time was because we delivered service at a great level, right? So we gave...
Thanks to the collaborations.
Thanks to the collaborations
Yes,
and
I'm wanting-
in valuing those collaborations. Every collaboration, every partnership is a privilege, right? If you don't live up to that, it's not going to give you value, it's not going to give them value. So you don't want to be a rent extractor. You want to deliver more to it than you take away from it. So to your point earlier, which is to say, when you grow the pie for everybody, right? Don't treat it as a zero-sum game. Say that if 1 + 1 join, it's going to be 11, and then you're going to come up with something that will scale.
Thank you, Rajat. And scale, I truly and genuinely want to see you beyond India, because I'm one of my KRAs is local to global. So lovely speaking to you, Shobhit. Closing remarks.
So I think in very second way, realize your strengths, don't undervalue yourself, find the right partners and solve the right problems. I think that's the magic recipe, and be genuine and keep doing what you're doing, then scale automatically comes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I will conclude that sitting next to me are not unicorns, but large corporates. Right. Thank you.